Talk Tuah. Okay, I'm done with society. I'm leaving.
Gotta give him that Talk Tuah and spit on that thing.
The Talk Tuah girl phenomenon is certainly something. Months ago, she blew up because she said a silly joke in a street interview, and now we're here months later where she has millions of followers. And now, whenever I go into Spirit Halloween, I see Talk Tuah Halloween costumes. And she has her own podcast, which seems to be performing well, despite less than stellar reviews. It feels like her viral moment turned into this calculated operation. It goes through this assembly line where it gets broken down, manufactured, and packaged into the perfect product ready for consumption. She's receding into the background while this sterilized Talk Tuah brand is emerging in front of her. It's actually quite a weird thing to watch. See, if you watch the Talk Tuah podcast, you'll find yourself wondering, who is this for? So let's look at how this started journeying down the overly manufactured assembly line. Her Instagram right off the hop already seemed like PR tested. I don't know how else to put it. It just doesn't feel like a normal person's social media. Her first post on Instagram is her performing on a stage. And then her second is an interview shot in this professional style with this analysis and breakdown of what they call the iconic day, where at this point, after she had gone viral, a smart move for her to do would just be to show who she is as a person, let people get to know her in a real way. But instead, the first posts you're seeing on her social media back when she blew up are not quite down to earth or relatable. She has a post captioned, "Just been living lately," where she does the casual, relatable thing and hangs out with Shaquille O'Neal. And then it would seem that she was really fixated for a while on telling people that she was going to have more than 15 minutes of fame. You can see references to this everywhere. She even registered her own company called 16 Minutes LLC, which is obviously her way of saying that she's going to have more than 15 minutes. On July 11th on Instagram, she had a caption, "Not bad for a girl with only 15 minutes." And then she did something good, which I don't want to overlook here. She filmed herself donating to help animals. I'm gonna believe that she's genuine about this and that this is something that she actually really wants to do, which is great. But it's sad because I feel like this post got a bit soured by her opening this up, talking more about how she's gonna have more than 15 minutes of fame. If you're starting this post where you're trying to talk about helping animals, if you're starting it off, bringing up the 15 minutes of fame, it's gonna sound like fame is your priority. And it just kind of tarnished the vibe of the whole thing. Now, on her TikTok, right away with her bio, you can see it looks contradictory. Her bio says simplifier, and then right below that it says for business inquiries. So the word simplifier, I mean simple, it implies you're straightforward, you're humble, you're down to earth, you're keeping things simple. But then a lot of her TikToks are just her podcast, which is her sitting in a studio that looks like it has professional lighting, a proper setup, good equipment, and that's anything but simple. That's not something just everybody has lying around. That requires a lot of thought put into it. You know, simplifier, and then right below it, for business inquiries. It's more like a brand bio we have going on here, less like something for a person. So to make it look like a business page when you're famous for saying Talk Tuah is definitely an interesting decision. She got the deal to have a podcast from the site Better, which is a sports betting site co-founded by Jake Paul. There's now 3 new social media accounts just dedicated to the Talk Tuah pod, where they post clips and whatnot. Like, it's very clear that the podcast is front and center right now. And when people found out that this podcast was happening, everybody thought it was really absurd, right? So of course, lots of people watched it, but it seems that when you look at the YouTube comments or you look at people discussing it online, there's very few non-ironic reviews of it. Most of the people who have checked it out are checking it out ironically. And the genuine reviews that I do see don't appear to be talking about it favorably. I decided to check it out for myself, and I watched all the episodes that are out right now. It wasn't a great use of my time. I have some thoughts. I can't say they're good thoughts, but I have thoughts. So in no particular order, let's just go over some of the things I noticed. A lot of people say that she's really humble, she's down to earth. I'm just not convinced about the humble part. 9 minutes and something into episode 1 of the podcast, her guest calls her the ghetto Dolly Parton.
I think part of the reason people love you so much, because you know you're like ghetto Dolly Parton or something.
Anyhow, Haley agrees to this statement.
Dolly Parton or something?
Yeah, I say so. That is a good comparison right there.
Agreeing to be compared to Dolly Parton when you got famous for saying Talk Tuah when Dolly Parton is an accomplished musician and performer, is not humble. In episode 3, the subject of authenticity comes up for her. Her guest basically says, calculated people on social media, they're tiring, I'm done with them.
That's relatable.
Well, thank you.
The least favorite people I come across in life are the calculated ones. I like when people are just winging it and doing their best and being themselves.
I can't even make this up. Like, I need to prepare you for this, okay? This sentence, right, about how Haley is real and that's fresh and exciting and how she's tired of calculated people, that sentence, she says, gets cut off at the end for an ad read, a sponsor read, for the sports betting site.
Being themselves.
I'm going to make this part really simple. You only need 8 correct picks to win 1,000 times your money on better picks.
I love how authentic you are. It's so fresh. It's so real. We need so much more of. Please bet $99,000 and your home mortgage on this site. It's like the worst type of ad read too. It's like the worst type of sponsor. It's not like a sponsor where, you can improve your life, where you can get some sort of entertainment value out of it, or you can eat something healthy. It's not like it's a sponsor for anything that's actually going to be giving back to you. It's a sponsor read for a sports betting site, which is pretty much never going to actually give you anything in return. I mean, the whole system of gambling is based on extracting as much money from you as possible while giving you as little as possible in return, so that way they can profit. Here's another big problem for her. She's being sidelined by this site. Her Talk Tuah merch has been replaced by Talk Tuah merch. And when you look at all these pieces of merch, because the podcast is sponsored by the site, they've put their logo on every piece of merch. So now her branding is inseparable from this thing. And not only is the logo on the merch, in this particular one, the logo is the main part of the merch. It's front and center, while Talk Tuah is the accent. It's absurd. Now let's talk about something else here. Let's talk about the good she's trying to do. I feel like I haven't really seen any discussion around this, at least on my side of the internet. I've not really seen anybody talking about any of that, and they're just focused on how the podcast is, a little silly or whatever. But she has tried doing good things. She does seem to have this consistent love for animals and dogs. She's started this Paws Across America thing, partnered with the Tennessee Foundation, and she's trying to fundraise and raise money for this cause that she cares about. And it's a shame that it is so overlooked, and I think that the reason why people have been mostly ignoring it is because they're just not. Hate is a little easier to latch onto sometimes. But I will say, on her end, if you are promoting betting or just pure money extraction to your audience, doing ad reads a lot in your podcast, and then also really attaching that 15 minutes concept even on the Paws Across America website, it is going to make people question your moral consistency, right? It's going to make people question, are you doing this from a good place? What's the motive here? And it's definitely a weird choice to do this podcast because of how much she's being sidelined and what she's becoming secondary to. It just makes you question, who is this for? And while her podcast is doing good numbers now, most of the views are ironic, and I do think the lack of consistency with the authenticity is probably going to hurt her in the long run. It's working now, but if you can't build that community by authentically being yourself, it's going to be really hard to keep that momentum going and to stop the 15 minutes from running out. Now here's the big question, right? If you went viral, what would you do? And I'm not asking in this engagement bait way where I'm like, comment something now for the algorithm, please. But I mean genuinely, what would you do? Because it's a really interesting idea. It's a really interesting question. Would you do a podcast? Would you sell sauces or something? Would you make a Lunchables competitor? What would be your go-to strategy? I am stealing everything you tell me. Or when I go viral for my hit video of making Shrek out of onions. And you never know. You might go viral for saying to a hawk. We truly live in a world of infinite possibility. But yeah, thanks for watching and have a great rest of your day.